Now, digital lending platform Mpokket is looking to expand its workforce by March next year across verticals to maintain its growth trajectory. The total number of employees currently at the Kolkata-based company stands at around 2,700, which includes its employees from the Bangalore office as well. Joining me now to talk about these expansion plans and the impact of recent RBI digital lending guidelines and more is its founder and CEO, Gaurav Jalan. Gaurav, thank you very much for being with us here on Startup Street and welcome to the show. Let me start by asking you about your expansion plans. You have 2,700 employees currently. How much are you looking to increase that by? And it's coming at an interesting time because most of the startups are looking at tightening their purse strings. Some are even cutting back on jobs. What gives you this confidence?
Hi, Ritu. Thank you for having me. So you're correct that the environment has been difficult for startups. A lot of them are laying off people. Thankfully, we are in an area of business where the industry has been growing very rapidly. So demand for credit, especially among the youth and the underserved in the country, is very high. This is an unserved market. And, we have been able to solve this problem by finding a way to underwrite these customers and provide credit to them cost effectively. So that's been allowing us to grow our business pretty handsomely over the years. I mean, generally, we've been growing our business about 2 to 3 times annually. And along with the growth in our business, we've also had to grow our workforce, obviously, because we need people to serve our customers. So roughly, I think in line, again, for the coming year, we expect our business in volume terms to grow about 2 to 3 times, and we'd expect our workforce to maybe grow about 2 times in the coming year from the current base of 2,700.
All right, so almost doubling your workforce from 2,700 currently. What kind of revenue profitability are you currently, what is the run rate currently and what kind of growth are you expecting there?
So Ritu, last year in calendar year 22, we disbursed or facilitated loans worth about 3,500 crore. And we expect that to grow 2 to 3 times in this calendar year. And as far as profitability goes, we've been running our business pretty efficiently, had a very strong focus on profits right from the beginning. So we've been a profitable company now for the past few years, actually.
Okay, you've been a profitable company. We haven't heard the profit figure yet, but irrespective, let me also ask you about another issue that has really plagued the fintech lending community. It's been a past, tough couple of weeks with the mighty ban on, the Ministry of Electronics ban on loan apps and websites. While Mpokket, of course, clarified it was not part of that list, there was a company with a similar name that was banned. Has that issue been resolved now? Have you identified who it was?
Yes, Ritu, that issue has been resolved. So this was an industry-wide kind of clampdown by the government because, they saw it as a national security issue where there were a lot of players who had origins from different countries who were collecting data on Indian consumers, also, kind of offering loans at usurious terms and harassing people for collection. So this was a menace actually for the entire industry. So this is a very good move by the government. I mean, the RBI has already, set out the digital lending guidelines and done a lot of clarifications, but the RBI only controls regulated entities. The problem is that there were a lot of companies that were operating outside this regulatory ambit of RBI, and they were essentially posing a threat to the country. So I think that's where the government came from. And I think this was a very good move where they identified a lot of these companies and effectively they've banned them. And I think legitimate companies like ours, we were invited by the government to effectively, provide information and documents that prove our legitimacy. And, once we communicated that to the government, it was very clear that we were not under the regulatory glare. And it was more directed towards these other companies that were doing business in a bad manner. And regarding that particular app that was kind of impersonating us, I mean, this is again, it's a problem that is there across the industry. I mean, we deal with it on a case-to-case basis, but unfortunately in the digital space, it's very easy for people to impersonate and do fraud. So, whenever we find out about these instances, we obviously take proactive moves as well. We try and get these apps removed.
Well, Gaurav, another issue I quickly wanted to touch upon before we let you go is the recent FAQs now, the clarification that RBI has released on these digital lending guidelines. The big change, of course, is that it has now allowed payment aggregators who also work as lending service providers to be used for loan repayments, which earlier wasn't the case. Does it make life a lot easier for the industry, or anything the community would still need more clarity on from RBI on these guidelines?
So I think these FAQs are a follow-up to the digital lending guidelines that came out in September from the RBI, and they have some clarifications that the industry had asked for. So I think the RBI has clarified that payment aggregators can also act as LSPs, but if they act as LSPs, actually they will have to adhere to the guidelines that LSPs that are there for LSPs. So it kind of limits the range of functions that they can perform. Overall, I think these FAQs are a step in the right direction. Again, certainty is very good for the industry, because eventually, businesses know what the guardrails are and how they need to perform services. Regulations are good for the customer, and what's good for the customer is eventually good for the industry. So all of these are steps in the right direction. And I think one other thing that the industry is waiting for clarification on, that we do expect from the RBI in the coming months, is a clarification on the first loss default guarantee. So that is something that did come up in the guidelines, and I think as an industry we've sought some more clarification around those rules.
All right, so FLDG remains a grey area where you require clarity. Gaurav, thank you very much for joining us here on the show to talk about your company on some of these industry-relevant issues that are very pertinent as of now for the fintech community. Thank you very much. On that note, we'll wrap up this edition of Startup Street. Thanks for watching, and stay with us. The news continues on the other side.